All right. Welcome back. I'm here with Katherine Scarborough. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Jorge. It's so
Oh,
good to see you.
it's great to see you. It's great to see you. We haven't seen each other in a
Years.
while, years. We went
Yeah.
to grad school together. You're a year ahead of me
Mm-hmm.
in that class. And I thought that I would have you on because part of this whole podcast is people staying creative. And I feel like a lot of the people that I've had on already have started that kind of trajectory into big things,
Mm.
creating their own content. And you have really taken the ball and started running with it and creating your own content.
Yeah.
You need to do that.
Yeah, I think as artists, it's important.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just is. I think that we learned that in our graduate program. I mean, that was a core
Mm-hmm.
of our acting training.
Yeah.
Was that we were constantly working on new material.
Yeah.
But we both trained as actors, not
Yeah.
writers.
What'd you say though when we did a core of that original stuff it wasn't really geared for the writers. I mean, not for the actors. It was
No.
geared for the directors and the writers.
Yeah.
We were,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still good, like to tag along with your friends and if they have good ideas, because that, like, ours was kind of attached to their ideas, their visions.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, we worked on plays that were written by the playwrights and directed
Yeah.
by the directors. But I discovered after graduate school that I've always known that I liked writing. I never trained. I have some, imposter syndrome about writing, just because my MFA is not in writing.
Yep.
But through a crisis that my family had in my third year of graduate school, that whole "take your broken heart, make it into art,"
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher quote. I applied to an artist residency out of graduate school and I got it. It was with Mabu Minds.
I remember.
Which is the experimental theater company that's been around for forever. They're wacky and interesting. And with them, I developed and devised my own show that was about my family and my family history. And I worked on that for a few years. And it was that process that made me realize, I like telling my own stories.
Yeah.
I think it was that, and then the audition experience that I had right out of acting school, where it was like, I don't want somebody else to control what my artist instrument says in the world.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is this the project that Liz Fleming was helping you out with?
Yeah, Liz was in it.
Yeah,
She went on a whole journey with me with that because
yeah.
we worked, it was called Myth Keeper. We worked on it with Mabu Minds, and then I went away and decided I wanted to keep working on it. So I put it up at Dixon Place as well. And then finally, so it was like a 2-year process.
Yeah.
Finally, we put it up in residency at the Brick in Williamsburg.
Awesome.
And so the cast changed a little bit, but Liz was one of the OG Mythkeeper people who stayed with me through the whole
I love her.
process.
She's so amazing.
Too. I'm going to go hang out with her tomorrow, actually.
You tell her I said hello. I tried to
will.
get a hold of her for a while, a few years back, and then just kind of lost touch. We both lived in Jersey City. And yeah. So
I'll tell her you said hey.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you put it on at the Brick.
At the Brick, yeah. And that's such a great space. It was just a fun, experience. One of the directors, I mean, the great thing about living here and the training that we had was really the network that we built, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Kai, who was the director my year, directed it. And it was just, working with him. And the Brick is a great place. But I think one thing that for me was so formative about that experience is that the story was so personal and I was in charge of my story and what I was going to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that experience taught me, I want to create my own shit. I don't want to, listen, I'll take whatever acting work I can get, but as an artist, I want to create my own thing,
No, I totally agree with you on that. And I know that when we were in grad school, because our program is basically the same, yours was a little different than our, like it was changing every year for some reason. It
Yeah.
was constantly changing.
Yeah.
And we're actors. So we're on that track doing other people's work and other people's
Mhm.
assignments. And being us, you know, the character people of the
Characters.
class, you're going to play the same things
Mhm.
that I'm going to play. I was 27 or 28 when I went into grad school, and I was playing 50, 60-year-olds
Mhm.
because I was just a big guy.
Mhm.
That's it. And I
Mhm.
felt, did you get that too?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what I will say is that there were some directors in my class, like for example, Christy Clark, who's a very close friend of mine who you've worked with.
Oh, she pulled a fast one for her project.
Did she?
Remember, so that your class was huge. It's like 36 people.
Yes.
So
Yes.
huge. She decided
Yes.
for her directing project,
Oh yeah, it was
it
Latinx.
was all Latinos. It was
Yeah.
me, Rafi, Velson, and it was
Yes.
just one of the most beautiful things because we would have never
Yes.
otherwise had that opportunity at all.
Yes. And that's something that I love about her because she
Yeah.
would cast me in things, and yes, they would be character roles, but then not, you know, I didn't have to play an old lady for her.
No.
I didn't have to, do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
always, so anyway, there were directors and writers in my class who were willing to, I mean, listen, I didn't have the lead. It's not like I played fucking, you know, but I also, the body stuff and the being a character actor stuff really happened, I think, in the classroom rather than in production for me.
Yeah. No, I think for me as well. Also outside of the school, but within it as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there's certain
Yes.
professors that said some things.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
You know, and that stays.
It does because it's, I mean, I've talked about this before with other people, but the whole point of training as an actor is to teach you to get out of your own head and to be unself-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're constantly being told that there's something wrong with your body, or okay, you're big, but you're not in your body. You seem to think you're a floating head. And so get in your body. Get in your body as a phrase became meaningless to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah,
I am my body. I am in my body. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? And certainly, I mean, there were definitely moments in my class and our training that were like shocking and crazy. Like you guys had a different stage combat professor than we did.
Ours was a lot nicer.
Oh yeah. Ours, there was a big kerfluffle because of me with the stage combat guy, and I don't know how much gossip trickled down.
I don't know. I know that there was something that happened.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, but I don't know what it was exactly.
Yeah. So what happened was that we had this stage combat professor, and we were only going to take stage combat for one semester.
Yeah.
And he was off working on some other project, and so he sent his minions to come teach us.
That's what I remember hearing that. Yeah.
And so he didn't come for the first 6 weeks of the semester. We were training with these other dudes.
Yeah.
And then the first day that he comes in, you know, we're all standing around, and he looks around the room and he said, all of the women, not everybody, all of the women in here are too fat. And then he looks at me and he goes, except for you. You are a character actor, and you're going to play the nurse, and you're going to play, you know, the comedic sidekick. And so you need to just keep the shape that you're in, because that, and so what's insidious about that, right, is that it's couched as a compliment. But he singled me out as the biggest woman in the room.
Yeah.
I felt so self-conscious. And then what was also insidious about it, and it was something I think that happened a lot in our graduate program in different circumstances, was that it turned the room against itself. Like, all of the women in the room were pissed at being called fat. And so they did not have time for why this might have hurt my feelings or made me feel weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it was a whole thing. It was so, oh God, the faces of everybody in the class looking at me. And that's just one example. You know what I mean?
Oh, of many,
Yeah.
I guarantee, because
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the class below.
Mm.
We had the same teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one teacher in particular who would tend to go out drinking with the students.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And while doing so, this person, I'm not going to name names, say if they're male or female, but I think we both know who this person is. And they would single out people. And for me, like, I didn't give a fuck. Like, I'm big.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in my skin. And
Yeah.
after a while, like, I have a really good bullshit detector, and I just don't really
Mm-hmm.
care. Like, if you're gonna say
Mm-hmm.
something to me, like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
I think as big people, we have to have a
yeah,
good bullshit
exactly.
detector.
But there's others that don't have
Mm.
that, and if you get singled out by someone that you respect,
Mm-hmm.
that's in authority, telling you, you know what, you're not gonna work unless you lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
You need to lose a lot of weight because you're pretty, or you've got a good look
Mm-hmm.
to you, but you need to lose weight because you're never going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they could tell me that, you know, and I understand, like, if I'm going to lose weight, if I'm going to do anything like that, it's for my health, for my family, for longevity,
Mm-hmm.
for heart health, you know, like that's what I'm going to lose it for. I don't need to lose it because some professor who hasn't worked in years telling me this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And this professor would do this over drinks. And you know, what is that saying? It's like the truth comes out with drunks and children.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, what they really think is coming out, and these other women are really holding it, you know, close to heart. And you could see how this affects them.
Yeah.
Year after year. And by third year, man, some people were just struggling mentally.
Me too.
And I did too. That first year, I almost dropped out first year between
I
the
didn't
summer.
know that.
Yeah, I you know, because at the end, you know how they have like those little 5-minute sessions with you, 5-10 minute, you know, one-on-one. Like, hey, you know what? You've really grown, and blah blah blah. Like, shut the fuck up.
Bullshit.
This one professor tells me, you know what? I don't think you appreciate what I've done for you. You don't work hard at all. And I think you need to rethink what you're doing or reevaluate when you come back. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Fuck that. You know, I don't respect that. And it's just like how you've plainly shown favoritism, and it's year after year after year with the same students. And if it wasn't for like Peter J. and for Cotter, and you know, Ron. Oh my God, Ron. The professors that were currently working, you know, that aren't jaded, they changed my mind and kept me in the program. Really, that's what really happened. And you know, it was really, really bad for our second year when we had to do the Shakespeare. Because I don't know if you heard, but I'm sure Liz can tell you, they turned it into a competition, especially between the women.
Yeah.
And some of the men, like me, I knew my place. I'm gonna push some ladders. That's all I did. And make
I'm gonna move some shit.
Yeah, and the Scottish play is like, you need a strong guy. Yeah, just push a ladder. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've seen a few Broadway shows, and you know, there's the market for the ladder pusher. Yeah. But you know, you're getting to several $1,000s of student loan debt. You kind of wish you didn't.
More than several thousand, like hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds. Yeah.
Hundreds.
But yeah, and there's just like they turned it into a competition my second year. It was really bad for my section, because they divided it into two plays.
Yeah, they did that to my class too.
Mackers, and then I don't even remember the other play. The other play was with Stephen Freed, and you could tell when that show went on, they had fun. That was just like fun. Ours was like a boot camp, and it was it was like if they had a camera in there, it'd be a reality show competing for parts. And this director withheld casting for like months until the last minute. It was ridiculous. One of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. And this guy
Oh,
tried to
that's
tell me,
awful.
yeah. And we had like a round robin thing with the whole class and the two professors, the directors. And I was the only one who just said like, this sucked. Like I didn't have a good time. And he's like, no, you had a good time. And I was like, no, I didn't. This was awful. Like all I did was push ladders. He's like, no, you didn't. And he's like, I taught you. He's like, no, you didn't. We tried to learn like other things and mess with a parachute for freaking weeks. And we didn't even do much with it and learned like all this dance choreography for nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous, but you know, that's that. And you understand, you know, that the school, were you affected by it? Like leaving school? Like after, like if you didn't have the Mabou Mines thing, were you still affected by it or thinking like, you know, this is where I'm going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I left school fucked up for sure. I left school questioning my own. You know what? I remember there was a day, third year. I worked with Kai and Fen, third year.
Yeah.
And then Jason Kim, who I worked with several times, was dramaturging that.
Yeah.
And he sat me down. God love Jason Kim. He's such a sweet guy.
He's crushing it.
Yes.
Crushing it.
And he, like, tears running down his face, saying, it is a crime if you're leaving this program questioning your own talent. And that meant so, I don't think he knows how much that meant to me at the time.
Yeah.
Because there was definitely a culture beyond even the body stuff, the competitive culture.
Yeah.
It was really unhealthy, I think.
Yeah. You
know, training as an actor is so, you have to rip your own guts out, right? And it's a delicate, you're something that I have learned is your artist is delicate.
Yeah.
Your instrument is delicate.
Yeah.
And it's vulnerable, and you can very easily, for example, get attached to somebody who's a guru who will ruin you as an actor. You know what I mean?
Well, they follow like some of these professors as if they're like the be all and end all, that this person's going to control your career, or one professor actually said this in a rehearsal, is like, I can control your career. I can make a phone call tomorrow and say, this person is a jack off. Called one of the students a jack off. Hi, roommate. And he said that in front of said student, in front of the group.
Yeah.
And you know, at that time, when you're in that classroom setting, that's the gospel truth. You think that that's it. But then when you realize, when you leave and you spend a few years out of the real world, it's like, who the fuck is this guy? He hasn't done shit in like years. He's a has-been. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, get out of here with that. Like I left with a bad taste in my mouth as well, because I saw several actresses like you be treated as you're saying. And that it takes a while to shake that off. It
does take a while to shake it off. I think you have to get your own feet under you, you know? You know, you're in such a vulnerable place, and you have these teachers that you really idolize and look up to, and getting into acting school is a dream. It was for me.
Me too.
For most people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you have these teachers that you trust, and you're trusting your whole self with them. And your fucking class, people who should all be in the goddamn trenches together, but instead it's like, if you have a rough moment, or you're not getting a scene, or you're struggling for whatever reason, which is normal as an artist, you know, none of us know what the fuck we're doing. We're just you know, figuring it out, and feeling a whole room of eyes looking at you and judging you, or you know, you can just see it in their faces, like, oh, I won't fuck up like that, or you know, whatever. Totally. You know, I didn't necessarily, when I left grad school, I didn't feel like I was on a team. You know,
I was a lone wolf.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, you can ask most of my classmates. I love my classmates, but I never really went to any parties. I don't keep in touch with most of them, only a few. Not because I hate anybody. It's just, you know, I saw people's true selves come out during some, like the second year when we were, and this was put on by professors, is that, you know, this audition process, and, you know, the the festival process, you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know about your class, but a lot of the directors and writers got a lot of best friends within the second year.
Mm-hmm.
Going into the third year, they had a lot
Mm-hmm.
of best friends that they just found.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these directors, you know, like were great. And there's always a couple that kind of feel a little bit more high and mighty,
Mm-hmm.
and they held that over people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
And they put this competition or just said this, and professors would do that, and you know, and it was just a toxic.
It was yes,
It's
toxic is
toxic.
the word.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, after my second year, I stopped. And you know what? Something else that was really helpful for me at the time, too.
Yeah.
I have a close friend who's a character actor. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
But he's doesn't have to have a day job anymore. He's been on Broadway several times, TV.
Amazing.
He's got, you know,
Yeah.
he has killed it. And he would, you know, he's been successful for a long time. And I would go and meet him and his buddies for drinks or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
It was such a breath of fresh air for me at the time that I would spend my day mired with these people who stressed me out so much and feeling like a shitty actor. And, you know, and then I would go meet up with him and it was like, yeah, all this is bullshit. You know, like I felt like a normal person. I felt respected. I felt like there is a possibility for life outside of that building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do also believe that a lot of that environment was created because it was a windowless building too. There was no windows. You were inside for a good 8 to 10 hours a day.
More than that, easily
people.
15.
And then in the wintertime, it was stuffy as hell. Like
there was smelly. We had a couple of smelly people in my class.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys had smelly people. We had smelly people, and it was like, what's wrong with you?
I'm not gonna be a hater, but yeah, y'all did have a couple of those. We didn't as much, but y'all we
had some stinky people.
Love them to death, but yes, you do.
Wash your clothes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But that's it, and then it's like you're stuck with these people all day. And then when you graduate, I think you realize like, man, like for me, I started thinking like a lot of this angst and like self-conscious behavior I had was because of we're cooped up and this toxic environment that people were placing upon themselves. It's like, it's a competition to see who's going to be famous first.
Who's going to be famous and who's fucking who. And
yeah, that's another thing. It's like a soap opera in there. And I was just a fly on the wall in my class.
I know, because you were a married man.
As a married man, and I had no time for that nonsense. Yeah. So so you basically had like the kind of same thing that I saw going on.
Yeah,
in your class,
absolutely.
Your class was so huge too, so there was fewer opportunities.
Yes, it was overwhelming. And like there were a solid, I don't even know how many people. There were several actors. You know, I'm grateful that I was not one of them so that I felt like I got my money's worth for the most part. But there were some actors who did not step on the main stage during their third year at all.
Yeah, no.
36 people. But, you know, our class was the year we applied and got into the program the year after the 2008 crash.
Yeah.
And so I think academia was just accepting as many students as they could take because you know what I mean?
No.
But yeah, that was hard. That was really hard being in a class with that many people because even just your time in class to work on your scene work or whatever was shorter because there were, you know.
Like, so you all had it rough with the rehearsal space. In my third year, that's when they started the BFA. And
oh God, you were there for the BFA.
Yeah, that was the first year of the BFA. So finding rehearsal space for that was almost impossible. The year after that was even worse. And now drama got swallowed up by Lang, I think. So there's our school doesn't even exist.
I know.
Anymore.
I know.
It's so crazy.
It's crazy and it's sad to me. Like Peter J isn't there anymore. Cotter left. Like
Well, Cotter was doing Mindhunter, and Peter J is at Columbia now.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah, I talked to him a few weeks ago. Like I'm saying, those guys, they helped me find. You know that what you said a while ago is about being in your body.
Yeah.
We heard that saying so much. You need to be in your body. And hi roommate. They made me understand or helped me understand what that actually meant. And that was just being present and breathing and being in the scene and not just being a spectator from outside.
Yeah, I don't need to crawl around on the floor. Yeah.
Or showing to my bare chest.
Yeah. Or I don't need to crawl around on the floor and pretend to be a cat in order to understand my team. I mean, yes, there's value in that in certain, whatever, but.
I tried to explain a lot of stuff that happened in grad school to people down here in Texas. And it's so hard to explain that. Like you said, crawling around like a cat and being an animal, or what was it, the Grotowski sort of stuff where you're undulating and all that. And after being out of school for so long, with Alexander technique and talking about all this stuff, and I just realized, man, all you had to just tell me to do is just punch in the air or just do some jump rope or just do some yoga. That's it. Yeah. I would have saved so much time.
The moment, I can tell you this, we got into this program. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, let's do this. I'm committed. This is 3 years of my life.
Yeah.
There was a moment in first year where I was like, this is kind of bullshit. It's fine, but it's kind of bullshit. And that was second semester of mask, which was character mask. So it wasn't Shelly. It was the other teacher, Nina, who I loved.
We had a situation.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
Well, I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They'll laugh about it. The people I'm telling about, they'll laugh about it. It's hilarious, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So she had us do, before we got into character mask, she had us do 6 weeks of Primal Man.
Primal, yes. My story's about Primal.
Oh, good. Well, okay, good. You'll love this, man.
Yeah.
So we were all so sick of it. We couldn't take anymore. It was 6 weeks of pretending to be cave people. And like, none of us were enjoying ourselves. You know what I mean? And so one day, Nina, we were getting ready to do Primal Man yet again. And she said something like, you all are really boring me. You are cave people. If you want to hit each other, hit each other. If you want to, okay, so the way that my class dealt with that is we pretend murdered one of our classmates, Paul.
Poor guy.
And then cannibalized him, all pretend, cannibalized him. And the girls in the class got so traumatized and upset by the eating of Paul. One of them went out into the hallway weeping.
I hope so.
And another person came up and saw her. The person who was not in the class saw her and was like, oh my God, are you okay? Is everything all right? People crying in the hallways was not necessarily out of the ordinary at school. This girl's weeping and she just goes, they ate Paul. And they ate Paul Day will live in infamy for me.
So,
yeah.
Was yours on Friday?
I don't remember. Probably, yeah.
To explain to the people watching or listening, in your first year of grad school, for us, we called it Freaky Friday because you started the morning off from 8 till noon or 11 something with collab, which is collaboration or whatever it is with the writers and directors, and you create the original pieces. So it's like a 4-hour class, so you can really rehearse and all that. Get a lunch break, and then you finish off the rest of the day with the freaky part of Friday, which was either Chekhov. That's I thought second year was Grotowski.
Oh, right. Okay.
But you had Chekhov, which was Michael Chekhov, not Anton, and you had masks. First semester was neutral mask. Second semester was character. And it sounds like, oh, yeah, those are just normal classes. You're just going to do some moving around and you're going to do some mask work and whatever. What you don't know is that Monday through Thursday, you're put through the ringer. You have how many monologues you have to memorize for speech, for other classes. You have Gary's class that you have to read like 1 million plays for, which is awesome.
God bless Gary Vee.
Yeah, and you have to like prepare those panels for Gary's class, and which is a theater history class, and all the acting work, your scene work that you had to do. So by Friday afternoon, you're brain dead. And these classes, you're emotionally spent, and all this toxic stuff we're talking about happens at the beginning in the first 4 days of the week. You're getting judged. You're doing a scene on Monday or Tuesday night, and you see someone, out of the corner of your eye, and they're either on their phone or like falling asleep or whatever, and so you're pissed at them, or somebody else had some kind of altercation, so they had to pause class for like 4 hours, or we have to talk this out as a class and move forward. And then you get to Friday, and this is where you just release everything, like in Ragnar's class, Chekhov class, like you're just going with the impulses. Like you feel it. If you feel it, it's like, let's take a walk. Maybe you want to do this, or maybe you don't. Maybe I just took a nap a lot of the time, or
I love that.
It's just like, it's just, you're tired, and anything went with that class. So I had Chekhov first, then I had mask. Like half the class would have one, and then you rotate, like you'd do the switcheroo. So for us with Mina, we're doing Primal one day, and I don't think anyone will get mad that I tell this story. It's kind of funny now. It's been like 6 years. We're doing Primal, and much like your class, like my class, we had some hotheads. Like we really had some hotheads. And I remember at one point we're doing Primal, and Leif and I got into a jiu-jitsu match. We're wrestling and we're playing around. It was all fun. And Rafi, Rafael, he loves to go with his imagination, and he feels things. And for some reason, he had a broom or something like that, and he was doing something, right? And from one moment to the next, I was being Primal, but at this point, those little like those Swiss balls, those big air balls. I had the tendency of just laying on it like a walrus or a circus seal, just doing that. I was resting. And on one side of me, on one side of me, I see Courtney Vincent. She pushed Rafi, and then Rafi's like, we're Primal, and I was like, okay, this is probably actually, I thought they were playing around, and then all of a sudden, she gets a trash can and throws it at Rafi and says, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," and And I don't know if like Rafi like pushed her, and like we were all on edge at that point of the week.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where like at that split second, I realized, oh my God, this isn't part of the exercise. The reason why it happened the way it did, it escalated, was Mina had walked out of the class in the middle of this exercise.
Oh, yeah.
And people were acting crazy. And like, so Courtney throws this trash can and she starts trying to swipe it. And Rafi's like trying to shoo her away with the broom. And Janice is being a cat. Like she always was, that was like her animal that she would always go to. And she was like, meow. And she went under the table. That's all I remember. She's under the table. And before Courtney can really like leap at Rafi and get like a hit in, I pick her up and carry her out of the classroom, and she's just yelling at me. I'm like, I'm gonna kill you, or whatever.
Wait, you picked her up?
I picked her up and took her out before it got out of control.
Oh my God, Jorge!
Walking by, there's 3 people from your class sitting at those round tables, and one of them, the only one I remember, was John Cormier. He's the only one. He's like, what happened? You know, he's always like wanting to know what happened. And I picked her up and I took her outside. We're barefoot. It was cold, and we just needed to cool off. And that ended Primal for the semester. We didn't do any Primal after that.
Yeah.
Because Mina like came back, everyone was freaking out, and she had no idea what happened.
That's the best part.
And you know what's hardcore? Like thinking about like my classes, like we were like OG because we didn't even tell on her. Mina, like for leaving the class, we would have told on other people for other things, but for her, like we really didn't tell on her. But that was like the first year, that was like one of those crazy moments where one student wanted to kill the other. They're friends now, we laugh about it now, but it's one of the coolest, funniest moments ever.
It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that emotions are just always running high. Mm-hmm. I think that was the thing about acting training, is that you're just always here. You're always ready to be fucking, come on, man. You know what I mean? Any little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was so crazy. But, you know, at some point we graduated and
we lived through it. We made it.
We lived through it. And like, so we've talked a lot about grad school. So post-grad school, well, you already said you went through Mabou Mines, which was awesome. I remember that because it was the year, it was my third year. So you had already just graduated. So you started getting the ball rolling with that. Did you get any auditions? Did you have any luck with agents or managers or anything like that?
I freelanced with third year, I got a couple of meetings out of Showcase.
Lucky.
And I freelanced with an agent for several years, but it's like, you know, you don't want to say anything, but it was not, I only went on, I think, 2 auditions in 3 years. I was only sent on 2 auditions in 3 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then sometimes this agent would send me a breakdown or a thing, and I would be totally wrong for it too. Like, why are you sending? No, I'm not. There's absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would just.
I've been there a million times. Yes.
And the first audition I had outside of grad school that was a major one was with a bigger casting office in the city, but it was for Chubby Girl, an under 5 called Chubby Girl, you know, butt of the joke, making a joke about how much I eat, you know, and of course I went and I killed it. I didn't book or anything, but you know, that was one of the 2 auditions that guy sent me on.
I feel that for females, I don't want to speak for females, but I do feel that for females in this industry, if you are a bigger girl, they will send you just for bigger girl parts. For me, and I'm saying that I don't want to speak for female, but for me, in my case, I have been fortunate enough that I had not faced either the racial or the racial stigma or the big boy stigma as much as I thought of. I mean, my very first big audition I ever went on, like the big one, was for Last Man on Earth, for the big guy that was opposite Will Forte.
Oh, wow.
And I'll always remember that was my first series regular audition. I went to, you know, in front of Clint Alexander at Fox. And I remember this for a couple reasons, because it was the day Rose's father passed away.
Oh, God.
We were studying for this the night we found out that he was passing away.
Oh, my God.
And it was actually the day after he passed away, because it was on her birthday, the 11th. So he passed away the 10th of August. A while back, 5 years ago, I think, 6 years ago. And I remember being in this office, and I'm a big boy, and I felt small. Like, there's other big boys, like they're bigger, like wide-wise and tall. Like, these are like, these guys could be bouncers for Beyonce, like, or, you know, security guy, like huge. And so like, that was really one of the only times. The other time was the one time, and I'm going to ask you a follow-up because after the story, is I had one of the worst auditions ever in my life, and it was about weight. It was for, remember, it was a commercial, and it was the Friday before industry holiday. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling on, but it's just a chain of thoughts. And I just want to follow up with after this, is that it was for like a Nutri-Grain sort of energy kind of bar, like something like that's what it was. The breakdown was my agents at Paradigm, which I love to death. And I was still very new. This was like my first year with them. They said, this is the breakdown, come camera ready. I thought, okay, I don't even know what that means. This is an audition.
Right.
And it was the Friday before industry holiday. I go in there and I'm in the waiting room, and I had like, let's just say it was like either a 1 o'clock appointment or a 2 o'clock appointment. We were running behind by like an hour and a half, because they were taking their time with everybody in there. And I finally went in, and they had the whole room lit up. Just, it was ready with the camera. They had the clients, everybody was in there. And what this audition process was like was that they, you know, if you've gone in for any commercial auditions, they have the whiteboard where it has like the lines. And we froze. Let's see what happens here. Oh no. All right. I think we froze there for a second. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're there. Can you hear me?
You're good?
Yeah, we're good.
I can. There's a lag in your talk.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Are we
Okay,
back?
good. We're back.
Good.
We're back.
Okay.
We're back.
So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that. But the last thing I said was that the whiteboard for, you know, in the commercial auditions, it tells you the lines. On this whiteboard was fat jokes. Like, you're so fat, your belt size is equator, sort of like fat jokes. And they said, look at the board and then look at the camera and read the joke. So it's kind of like, look at the board. It's like, you know what? You're so fat, your blood type is gravy. Now look at and read it. And I'm reading it, and they said, so how does that make you feel? And I'm like, it makes me feel low and
Ew.
gross. And they're like, yeah, this is a thing about anti-bullying for fat people. And in my mind, I was thinking, like, this is not helping the situation at all. It's making me feel low.
No.
And they said, were you ever bullied at any point? And I was like, when I was younger, like in my elementary years, I was chubby. I was fat. And my cousins bullied me constantly. And they said, well, how did that make you feel? I was like, you know what? Like, it would feel like I was this giant balloon. And their stupid little words didn't mean much. They weren't even big. They were like the size of a tiny needle. But that tiny needle, all it needs to do is just prick that balloon and all my air is gone. And that's how I felt. And we went through a few more things there. And I just felt like when I left, this was at House Casting on 15th, which was, it's across the street from Chelsea Market. So, you know, the walk to any train is going to be forever. And I went home that night and I cried. And I stayed up and I cried.
Jorge.
Like, I had never felt that low in my life. And like, in this industry, like, why would they even do it? There was no disclaimer or anything, you know, saying, do you feel comfortable doing this or anything like that? And
right.
I had agents that I could have called right then and there and said anything, but I was hit so off guard by this that I did not know. I didn't even think about calling them or telling them. I told them like maybe a year ago, you know what I mean? And they're like, why didn't you tell? Yeah. Like, I just like, I laughed at it. Like I you know, like I kind of shrugged it off, but like, I just did not feel, at the time I felt new. I felt like if I was going to tell them something, it was unappreciated.
You don't want to be a problem.
Exactly. And I don't want to lose my representation as every new actor. That's how it's like, oh, if I don't book, then I'm not going to work. And, you know, looking back, it's like, I could have done that. They would have had my back. And then I couldn't hear back for about 2.5 weeks because there was industry holiday. They said that I had I was going to get some money from that because it was, you know, straight like to record. Then they canceled that out. So it kept playing with me even more. And it really, really, it put a dent in me for a while. And as a grown man, like I wasn't teased. They didn't do it, but they brought up stuff. And the reason why they didn't say what it was is because they wanted authentic reactions, which if you're going to do that, pay me. You know what I mean? Be vulnerable. And the follow-up, I kept saying, a heads up, like this is going to be a little personal. Do you want to do this? Do you want to engage? Put this in the breakdown. This wasn't in the breakdown at all.
Right.
So I was wondering, like, have you ever had anything experience like that made you realize, you know what? I don't need this. And if I'm going to be big, because your web series is bigger, and we'll get to your web series, like, did it lead to that? Or it's like, if I'm going to write about it, I'm going to write about it through my own eyes, not through somebody's I'm not going to be the butt of the joke. I'm not going to be the sassy friend. I'm not going to do, play the old sassy lady or, basically it's always the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
It's really all it always is, especially for women, which is sad.
It is harder for women, I think. First of all, I'm sorry you had that experience.
It's the worst experience I've had in my career.
I cannot
in my life. It didn't even have to be in my career, in my life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly I haven't ever had something that extreme outside of like a school situation.
Yeah.
Professionally, it's mostly, the term microaggressions is what I have experienced. So like, for example, I was in a play, in an off house.
No rules.
A few years out of grad school. And the costumer, it was a period piece, so they had to do, costume building or pulling or whatever, and, take your measurements and all of that. And, it was a goofy character that I was playing, of course.
Yeah. And
the costume designer was like getting me into my huge costume, just huge. And she said something along the lines of, well, this must have been made for a really big man opera singer. And that's where this costume came from. It's why are you saying this? You know what I mean? There is a lack of
awareness.
And, honestly, I think big people, fat people are the last in the line of who it's acceptable to make fun of right to their face and say horrible things right to somebody, a big person's face.
You can still do it.
It's like, I have some pretty radical ideas about weight and health and all of that. And I think coming out of grad school, through like Instagram, discovered the body positivity movement.
Yeah.
Which is a movement that was created by Black queer women, Black big queer women, about accepting yourself as you are. And learning to love and accept your body just as it is, and not constantly, it's a rejection of diet culture, for example. And all that.
If you want to make that change, that's because you want to make that change to anything other than what, people are saying. Like if you feel like you need to lose weight or anything like that, that is totally up to you for your own personal reason, not because society says you need to.
I mean, I have some pretty radical ideas about that. I think that weight loss is not a healthy thing to eat. Shrinking your body isn't about health. It's about aesthetics. And shrinking your body, if you want to be healthier, there are things that you can do that don't have anything to do with trying to shrink your body.
I know there's a lot of people that would want to argue with you.
Yeah.
And if I did not know any better and work in the jobs that I've worked in, I would have argued with you too.
Yeah.
But I worked in, before New York, when I was 19, 20 years old, I worked in one of those sports supplement shops where we sold protein. I worked with bodybuilders, fitness competitors. And if you want to know some of the most unhealthy people on earth, if you want to talk about blood pressure, if you have a guy with abs and their blood pressure is skyrocketing higher than someone that's 300 pounds, they're unhealthy. If they're lactating, a man is lactating because of steroids, that's unhealthy.
Right.
There's body dysmorphia too, like bigorexia, and there is a lot of health issues with that. So I totally agree with you on that.
Absolutely. You cannot tell how healthy a person is by looking at them.
Yeah.
You just can't. And fat phobia and weight stigma has nothing to do with health. This argument that, promoting obesity or, well, we're just worried about your health. Nobody's fucking worried about my health. And health is not a moral accomplishment. It just isn't. And so I sort of got enmeshed and started really doing a lot of research about this because not just in my experience, I've always been a bigger person. You know, I was probably around 8, 9, I started getting chubby. And, you know, I just as any chubby kid would, I went through a lot, like bullying and stuff. And, you know, it's also complicated because my family has a history in the healthcare industry. My father was a doctor and my mom was a nurse. And my older brother is very athletic. And so I often felt like the black sheep in the family. You know, a lot of, we're worried about your health. We're worried about your health. The truth is that, you know, just to throw some statistics, people that lose a significant amount of weight and put a lot of effort into it, only 2% of people who do that are able to maintain the weight loss. And they are functionally anorexic for the rest of their lives in order to maintain that, you know? And I just got to a place, I think grad school really had a lot to do with it, as traumatizing as that all was. Sorry for keeping moving. I keep adjusting my butt.
You're fine. No, I'm the same way. No, I move around constantly.
But I just got to a place where I'd fucking had enough.
Yeah.
And I started doing research about body positivity and fat activism, and really started thinking about myself as a human being and also as an artist, you know, and I wanted to see a story where I felt represented that was about a big person who didn't hate themselves.
Yeah.
I wanted to write a show about a woman who you don't see her get up on a scale and cry, and she doesn't go to an Overeaters Anonymous meeting. And she does, you know what I mean? There aren't sticky notes all over the food in her fridge telling her not to eat them.
There's meal preps.
Yeah, no, none of that shit. You know, I wanted to, you know, fat people, we're just like everybody else. Like I have boyfriends and I live my life. I have the same struggles that everybody else does. And I wanted to write something that reflected that.
You know how many times I got hit on at the Equinox on Greenwich Avenue by ripped gay dudes?
I bet you did, Jorge.
There was a ton of chubby chasers there.
You're a big boy snack.
I'm Papa Bear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Them boys, you know, they can't hide their cravings.
Yeah.
You know, I get it.
And so I had already done Nabu Mines, and I decided that I wanted to write a play about all of this. And so I also had just gone through a breakup, and I was like, I'm going to make my work my boyfriend. And so I spent, you know, maybe a year writing this play. And at the same time, I decided just to buff up my resume. I'd never trained in improv, so I started taking classes over at the Pit.
Yeah.
Turns out I hate improv, but that's fine. People are great at it and love it. It does not work for me as an artist. I can't with it. I cannot.
I have my own opinion about the improv circuit in New York. I think it's more of a cash cow than actual teaching improv, because there's a lot of people who think they're funnier than they really are. And you see it a lot in commercial auditions, and you see it a lot like how many people go through the UCB and they think they're hilarious, and there's nothing funny about them at all. Nothing funny at all. And they're like, what makes you think that you're funny? I was like, I don't try to be funny, you know. I'm like, but I just did this commercial.
I'm booking work.
But there's some genius improvers, but I also think that improv helps you get out of your skin. Like, you know, I don't want to going back to get out of your skin. For me, it made me feel more comfortable in reacting.
Oh, that's
I'm very, like, when I say like get out of my skin, I mean like
get out of your own head. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Just, you know how they always said like you're watching yourself from above, kind of like there's a balcony, and there's like you that's what helps me, and I react better.
That's great. I wish that I had it made it worse. Like it definitely all of the improv rules. I was like, I can't ask questions. Why? You know, it just it was too much. But anyway, I was taking classes at the Pit, and I had written this thing, and a girl in my class worked by trade as a video editor, but had her own indie film company. And she and I became close. Yeah. And she and her business partner, they have this company called Brazen NYC. It's an indie film company. They're feminist filmmakers. They're great. they came and filmed the reading of this play that I had written. And just so that I could have it on film, it was really great of them to do that. And then afterwards, when we all were having drinks, you know, after the reading, I talked to them, and I think Elaine, it's Elaine White and Alyssa Carty are the names of the girls. Elaine, I think, said, I think that might be a film.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. The way I had written it was very cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we kind of decided as a group, we were like, do you want to make something together? And so then we decided, okay, well, that might be a feature film. Maybe let's make a web series first.
Yeah.
Not realizing like what a monster it would turn into in a good way, but it's been an enormous amount of work. And so we shot and completed the pilot, and after we shot the pilot, we used that to essentially fundraise for the rest of the series.
That seems to be like the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
A lot.
And so we went through Seed and Spark, which is a pretty cool vehicle to crowdfund. Thank God for the two of them, my producers. There's no way I could have done all of this by myself. You got to have a good team.
You have to, because you've done what I'm not going to say the impossible, but what a lot of people dream of doing is, maybe it's not a feature, but it is writing, conceptualizing, writing, and then getting the idea off. And it was originally, you said, for the stage. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you've been able to transition it to something that I feel is going to be a little bit more prominent, and it's going to get you a lot more views, because lo and behold, what happened this year, theaters are going to be shut down for a long. People are going to need content. Yes. And I had a few other people on here, my friends Josh Kennedy and Bray Brown. And the reason why I really wanted you on here was that you all are doing what the industry is going to be looking for. Is you were able to make your own content, and it's original content without any restrictions, and you did it on a budget, and it's getting traction. You know, and that's like an amazing thing.
You cut out there for just a second. Oh, you said you made content without any restrictions.
Without any restrictions, you know, on a budget.
Yeah.
And that's going to be key when they're shopping around for new voices and new things. They're going to look at this, and they're going to see, like, who can we relate to? How much money is that going to save us? Because studios are in the hole right now. Mm-hmm. The hole. So
your lips to God's ears, Jorge Chapa.
I'm telling you right now, like you're doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah. And you know, it has been a lot of work, but it has been doable. It's just a question. I have been asked, like, I was interviewed by my undergrad, the PR lady at my undergrad, who, you know, was like, what do you have any advice for people who might want to create their own thing? And it's like, just do it. Yeah. I mean, you know, none of us know what the fuck we're doing, right? I don't have representation right now, right? I am a free agent, and you just, if you put in the work, the pieces will come together. I genuinely believe that, but you have to put in the work. You have to do the writing, and you have to and I have a lot of inspiration from the British market. Actually, there is this crop of female creators from England who I idolize. I mean, do you know Sharon Horgan?
I got to tell you what, she's amazing. I love her.
Have you met her?
Yeah.
Jorge, I'm so jealous. I have such a crush, an artist crush on her. Well, I think she.
Remember, she created Divorce.
Yes, I know. I was wondering if you actually met her while you were working.
I love Sharon.
I think she is so fucking smart.
She's brilliant.
Her first show that isn't really well known in the States, Pulling.
Yeah.
is some of the funniest shit I have
Yeah.
ever seen. And she's so smart because she has the Merman company, and she has her fingers in everything. She is writing and acting and producing, and she makes commercials. And I idolize Sharon Horgan. She's a
amazing.
smart woman, so talented, so funny.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah.
And then obviously Phoebe Waller-Bridge, obviously Michaela Cole, Aisling B. This Way Up on Hulu. She worked. Sharon Horgan's in that show with her. Roisin Kennedy. It's all of these really funny, really witty, smart women who are writing their own stories and telling them. And that's what I want to do. You know.
You will. And you will.
Yeah,
and
man.
you are. No. I'm not gonna say you will. You are.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like you've got one project going
under my belt. Yeah. Yeah.
You got it. You've done it. Continue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a new idea. I'm writing a pilot.
There
I've got I'm working on it. That's another thing that's been, COVID has been a nightmare. I will say for me creatively, it's been, I came up with a new idea for a new show and all of this. It's given me time.
Yeah.
And something that I have talked with people about before, other artists, and I don't know if this is your experience, but there is such a pressure to produce that having this pause and letting the ideas come to you as they are meant to, and having the project percolate in the way that it's supposed to, has felt like such a gift. Do you know what I mean?
So when the quarantine first started on March 13th, I guess it was, right? That week after, there was a meme that was going around that said Shakespeare wrote his best work in solitary confinement.
During the plague,
During the plague, and someone else did something by themselves when they were in quarantine, and I kept thinking to myself, I was like, they didn't have kids, and times were much different then, and I totally understand what you're saying, like, because we've been shut down, for how many months now? 6 months almost. Like I haven't worked.
7.
I haven't worked since last year or year before that. I haven't worked. And that could have been the time where I came up with the most awesome idea. And really, I shot 2 episodes of like this kind of thing, like a kind of mini sitcom. I don't want to call it a web series yet, because you have to have more than 2, I think, to make it a series. And it's the Chapas, just basically based on the move away from New York and the industry to South Texas.
Yeah.
And that was fun. But I totally get like where people were saying like, you need to create, this is the time to create the masterpiece. And it wasn't until I was speaking to Yul Vasquez on a few episodes ago. And we actually met on Divorce. And he said, you know what, this is just the time to be and enjoy this time, because you will never get an experience like this again.
Yeah.
He's like, you have a little girl. She's 1 year old. And these moments are moments that you will never get back again. And I have tried, even though it's hard, because I get what you're saying. It's like we need to do something, or else you feel like you're going to fail, because you feel like you're never going to ever work again. Like I've gone back and forth thinking,
I know,
man, I might be done with the industry. Like the industry might be done with me. Constantly, right. I think about it. It goes back and forth, and people are saying, "No, you got this, and you've done that." And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like we don't know what's happening in the future, so I have that fear of not being creative all the time. So I totally get it. You at least have done something, and you've produced it, and you've got it promoted, and you're crushing it. And you just you just got into another
film festival, the British Web Awards.
The British Web Awards. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's been really gratifying to see the positive feedback we've gotten on the show. Something that also, all the stories in the show are, it's from my life. It's about me just heightened and made more absurd and crazy.
Yeah.
But it's real stories from, my experiences. So the show itself is very, very personal. I'm very protective of it.
Yeah.
And so seeing it doing well is really a beautiful thing, especially since I've been working on it for like 3 years.
Is there anywhere the people
not
watch?
Yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet. We're working on that. It's time to get it to a place, and we're
Is it
figuring out how to
because
do that.
it's like some festivals won't allow it? Because I know
No,
that's
because
the case with some festivals.
we've already once it premieres, which it
Hmm.
already has, it doesn't matter anymore really, and I think it'll only help us to get it. I just don't. I want to find a nice home for it before I resort to just throwing it up on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? I'd like
Yeah.
to find a vehicle for it that is um so that's what the work that I'm doing right now is sorting all of that out and figuring out where to
Absolutely.
stream it, and hopefully soon it's going to be up and ready for everybody to watch.
Absolutely. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So you have another project you're working on.
Yeah.
Is that going to be either an episodic or a feature?
Yeah, it's going to be an episodic.
Do you feel that episodic is going to be more important than features real soon? I'm feeling that that's the case.
I feel like it almost already is.
It is.
You know, the stuff that the way that streaming works and the way that binge watching is like a cultural thing.
It's accessible. Yeah.
I think that, and I think that the public, I think people want longer, more detailed stories.
Yeah.
They also want, I think there's something to the nostalgia thing where they want this. Yeah, you don't want the story to end, you know? Yeah.
That's how I feel about the Gilmore Girls.
Do you know, I really don't like Gilmore Girls.
It's okay.
I don't, it's too pleased with itself. It's so controversial. I don't like Gilmore Girls, and I don't like Aaron Sorkin. There, I said it. West Wing.
That's fine. I'm not big into Sorkin. I'm not big into Friends. That's the big controversy with me. I'm not.
Fair.
I don't think it's funny.
Fair. It's really fat phobic, that show.
Oh yeah, it's just funny phobic too. I don't find anything funny about it. I went there. I'm controversial. This is that.
Said it.
I said it. You know, that's this type of show. You know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not monetized. Because I say those sort of things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is something that I like. But again, I think being a creator has changed the game for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just not willing, as an actor, I'm not going to do a weight loss commercial. I'm not gonna go out for the chubby girl anymore. I'm just not gonna do it.
For me, I want to challenge myself because I was an athlete going younger. Mm-hmm. But it's also an experiment to see if I do get into a shape that I once was, how will the industry embrace me differently? It's almost like a social exercise to see, you know, how that would help me, because I've had some auditions where I wonder what the outcome would have been had I had been in the shape that I was when I was like 20, you know, when I was.
How old are you now, Jorge?
I'm 37, but when I was 20, I had abs. I was 210 pounds, you know, 30% body fat. I don't think I'll ever get there again, but there's been, for example, here's the conundrum that I've always had. And this is the thing with casting is it could have, and I've said this before in other episodes. Well, the breakdown will say, it could say Hispanic male, mid 30s to 40s. That's me. So I already hit 2. I'm checking the boxes. Balding, you know, married with children, you know, loves his family, and nice, soft-spoken, whatever, right? But then this last one will not get checked because ex-military. Now, I know a ton of ex-military, a ton of them. They look like me. But in the industry, when they hear ex-military, they don't think ex-military. They couldn't even be like a desk, like pencil pusher in the Army. They're thinking Navy SEAL. And if you see who they cast, it's a guy who's like, you know, the next John Wick. And that's what they're looking for a lot of the time. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to get there, but I just wonder, like, I've had auditions where I know I've crushed it. Or I go in and like, I know I'm crushing this audition. I know I'm not going to get because of that one little box in the breakdown that says ex-military or you know, just something along those lines. And I just want to do that as a challenge. You know what I mean? And just, you know, it's not because people are telling me to. I think it's just a challenge for me, just to see if I can do it. If I don't get there, I'm not gonna cry about it either. Like, I'm not putting extra pressure. You know, if I want to eat a cheeseburger or something, I'm going to eat that cheeseburger. You know, I'm not going to starve myself. I'm not going to do any kind of unless there's millions of dollars on the table. You know what I mean? That I can really monitor this stuff. But if it's just whatever, I have my integrity. You know what I mean? And my wife married me for me. You know, she married me when I was 244 pounds, not 210. And, you know, we have a beautiful kid, and, you know, she still loves me. And, you know, if anything else, I know that ripped gay dudes from Equinox would still hit on me.
You know, Jorge, I think you could get I mean, okay. I totally hear what you're saying. I will encourage you to look up the podcast Food Psych by Christy Harrison.
Okay.
She is a registered dietitian and public health expert.
Yeah.
And she is very anti-diet and anti-weight
loss. I don't believe in diets at all.
Yeah. But she's very smart in the way that she's very she's a thin woman. She's very, very thin, but she is very anti-diet culture. And our whole, I mean, everything we've talked, diet culture is like the air that we breathe.
Yeah.
You know.
Everywhere you turn, there's a keto this, there's a fat-free that. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. Or even just thinking about our bodies in the way that we're thinking about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, her work is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to check it out.
And for me, if I'm losing weight, if I'm going to get into any sort of shape, it's because I want to do stuff with my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to run around with them and not get winded, because I know that if I'm at a certain level, like if I was like 294 pounds, which I was a few weeks ago, I was breathing heavily, you know, running. My kid, Anna Pao, she's running now, and keeping up with her and like seeing me sweat or just struggle. Like, I don't want to be that dad yet. You know what I mean? I want to be able to keep up with my kids. And you know what? If you look at Kevin James, he's a healthy big guy. He can hop around. Jack Black as well. Like I said, I don't really care about having abs. I really, because like you said earlier in this podcast, you said, what do you have to do to maintain those? What's the percentage of people that get down to that point and maintain it? Like if you follow up with The Biggest Loser, all those candidates, the people, the contestants,
don't even get me started.
They drop all that weight, and it's just disgusting how they were treated on that show. And all those people, almost like 100% gain it all back.
And their metabolism is so fucked up that they actually can't. That show is so evil.
Yeah.
It fucks with their body chemistry so bad that
So for me, it's just like if what I do, I just, you know, if I feel like I'm getting a little heavier than I feel because of my knee, because I played football, and I know when stuff is hurting, like, okay, I got to watch it. So I just lift weights. You know, I like being strong. And if it's anything, I like a powerlifting body, you know? Like, I can still have my belly.
I mean, I think what I would say is yes to all of that. Maybe none of that has actually anything to do with the size of your body, though. Maybe that just has to do with your muscles and, like, the exercising that you're doing.
Well, that's, you know, here's the opposite thing, is that most of my career is because of my size. I've been the big guy. And one of the things that I was going through, I remember I told you with that first year, was that one teacher told me to lose weight. Whereas Raphael's dad, Rafi, the one that almost got killed in that incident, we did that play for Christy. And his dad came up to watch that play our second year. And we went out to dinner, and he told me, he's like, you know what? This guy's a health freak, fit. I mean, you've seen Rafi, you know, like just a little twink. And his dad is healthy. His dad was 53, looked 35. Like, he didn't look much older than me. And the one thing he told me was the one thing you wouldn't expect coming from someone that was a health freak. He's like, you know what, bro? If you're gonna lose weight, lose it because you want to. But I don't think you need to lose it for the industry. Because if you stay the size that you are right now, you're gonna work constantly. Mark my words, you're gonna work constantly.
And you did real well. I mean, you've done really well, Jorge.
I've been very fortunate. And it's because of my size. I'm not, I mean,
you're a good type.
I'm never, I've made my peace with not being a leading man, and that's fine. But there's always a market, because leading men, their lifespan on the shelf is limited. They have a short lifespan, and you know, only a few really can be the Brad Pitts or the DiCaprios. Like, it's a short life. Whereas you can see Paul Giamatti for years. You can see Vincent D'Onofrio for years. Jack Black is still around doing Jumanji movies. You know,
Patton
Oswalt. Yes, and Patton Oswalt has been able to do so much. And I even look up to Kevin James, which is, you know, he's the athletic big guy. And he's been able to do it. And that was one of the highlights of like my career as far as working with him. It's like, you know, I wish I had the connection to introduce you to Sharon. You know what I mean? Because I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, I got to spend time on set with her, but it's just like one of those moments. Like, I understand how you feel if you were to meet her, because that's how I felt when I met Kevin James. You know, even if it was like 2 lines I had with him, 2 lines.
That's amazing that you got to work with him.
I got you, because this is someone I looked, you know, up to. Like, I didn't care about being DiCaprio or anything like that. Like, this guy and working on a sitcom where everyone's happy. I've never been on a set where everyone is freaking happy. And they had cookie time. They had cookie time wafting in that studio. You can smell it. It's just like, it's a wonderful thing. So I know one day you're going to meet Sharon. And if I can facilitate that, I will.
Oh my God, Jorge.
If I can, I will. I don't know if I can.
It's fine. I love that you even have that thought. I just think she's so smart.
Because, you know, you never know, though. She might see it. And if you have something, you know, I will say you need to like pay attention to this young lady, because she's the future.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Here's hoping.
No, here's doing. You're gonna do it, and you got to keep creating that content. Because we're in a change right now in the industry. People want to see different stories. They want to see realistic stories. They want to see, you know,
themselves.
That's the huge thing right now. There's a whole lot of you know, Latinx or Latina writers and that just signed this thing and saying, you know what, we want to see our stories being written by us. And that's going for everybody. They want to see women's stories written by women, you know, and LGBTQ stories. And it's just, this is a big, good change right now happening in our industry. And it's going to be down to people like you who are actually doing the work to create those opportunities for yourself to be seen. Because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. You're not going to see it. You're going to turn on Netflix and you're going to see another bimbo show or another show with pretty kids. You know what I mean? And that's all you're going to see.
Yeah. It's, I just am not interested in stories about rich white people anymore. I don't care.
I never was. That's why I hated This Is Our Youth.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. I remember like our first year in grad school, it's like one of the scenes they had me do because it's so edgy. And I'm like, I cannot feel for these characters at all. And it was just one of those things that they had me do that play or that scene and Danny in the Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Because that's edgy. I was like, you realize there's like more updated edgy stuff that, you know, that I could have done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm also real tired of male mediocrity being celebrated. like white male mediocrity.
Yeah.
Fucking, I didn't listen. Maybe this is. I don't mean to be rude, and I don't mean to burn bridges, but I had no interest in watching Joker. I don't care. No interest. I don't care about some sad sack white dude who's angry.
Yeah.
Like we
He's
know
angry.
that story.
Yeah.
We know that story.
Yeah.
There are more interesting ones to tell
that
we haven't heard before. Do you know?
Yeah. Exactly. The one thing I did like about that was it made a better origin story for the guy that Batman was gonna fight.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the one thing I did like, but I totally get like, oh, boo-hoo, I feel bad for this guy. I'm like, the opening scene, one of the opening scenes is he's getting jumped by a bunch of Hispanic kids or like Puerto Rican kids. They're the bad guys.
Of course they are.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he goes on a rampage and does all this anarchy. So
yeah,
no, I totally get it. Are there any shows that you do like watching or anything other than, Fleabag? I know you like Fleabag, the Sharon Horgan stuff. Is there anything else that you're watching?
I finished.
Inspires you?
Yeah, I May Destroy You on HBO was fucking brilliant.
I've been meaning to watch that. I haven't.
Watch it.
There's so
Post taste.
Yeah, I will.
Please, and if you haven't seen it, Michaela Cole's previous show, Chewing Gum. Mm-hmm. There are 2 seasons of that. That is a brilliant show as well.
Are those both British?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've really been eating up British content. The Brits know how to make some TV. Yeah. They really do.
I loved Broadchurch.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a detective story.
Oh, me too. I've been consuming a lot of those lately. What else have I been watching? You would think I could just rattle it off the top of my head.
Don't worry, I'm the same way.
All we have to do lately is watch Netflix, right?
Yeah. That was the thing about me in grad school was that when I went into grad school, I was very raw. I went to an undergrad that wasn't very well versed in like theater. Like we did theater stuff, but it wasn't like, when I went in there, I read maybe one Shakespeare play and people were surprised that I only did that. And that was the only one I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I only read it because I did it. And they were like, I'm a genre guy and I'm all about horror and just getting scared. And like, I love the art house, the highbrow, what do they call elevated horror? I love that stuff. People are haters, but whatever.
What did I watch? Last night I watched a new horror movie called The Body at Brighton Rock.
Yeah, Brighton Beach. No,
it's a rock.
Yeah, rock. It was about the bear.
Yeah. It was all right. It was a little indie horror flick.
Yeah. See, Blumhouse has this new anthology series on Amazon called Welcome to the Blumhouse. So they're each individual movies, kind of like what they did for Hulu. Oh. But what they did on Hulu, it just felt like they were, I'm not going to bash any of it, but like it seemed like they were given like a set budget and they had like a month to put it together. So they weren't really, you could tell they were put together like in a couple of months. Whereas these Amazon movies that the Blumhouse has done are art house, just slow burn. I saw the one called Nocturne. With Sydney Shelley. I don't remember, but it's like a girl who does a deal with the devil. Because she's in competition with her like sister. They're concert pianists. Which is really good. There's another one called Evil Eye with Sunita Mani. Low. I remember Sunita from a 1-minute play festival we did. Like just
that's so cool.
From the beginning, when we were just doing, just 1-minute play festivals for free, like working for free. And now she's leading this movie,
That's very cool. 1-minute play festival. I did a 1-minute play festival.
At Intar?
No, it was at the one that I was in was at New Ohio, but was it Dominic DeAndrea?
Dominic, yeah.
I was in the 1-minute play festival.
Yeah, he's the man. He does them all. Yeah. He runs them. Yeah. So I should get him on here to see how that's going to be.
You should. I bet he's got stuff to say.
Oh yeah, it's crazy because theaters are shut down. What do you think about that? That's the thing about Broadway too, is that for you and me, for me especially as a Mexican American, I don't see myself up on that Broadway stage, even if there wasn't a shutdown. Period. There weren't any stories for me. Hamilton would be the closest.
Yeah.
And even then.
I mean, yeah, for me, it would have to be a niche thing. I mean, my thesis in grad school, and it's my dream to do it one day, like professionally up on stage, was Moon for the Misbegotten by O'Neill. I mean, that part is written for the lead of this play by Eugene fucking O'Neill, was a big woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, Broadway as we know it with the chorus and no. But it's a blow. It's real sad. I mean, I have a lot of buddies in the Broadway scene who are like, fucking, what the fuck are we gonna do? But it's like, for safety reasons, I understand why the shutdown is happening.
Absolutely.
But there needs to be, I mean, this is a bigger conversation about capitalism and like white supremacy and how our culture is totally fucked, but there should be financial support in place for people who are out of work. And there isn't, and there should be, you know?
And on both sides, they shut it down. They've been going back and forth on both sides. So I'm mad at both the Dems and the Repubs.
Yeah.
Okay, you should have gotten this and pushed it. If you cared about the country, there should have been some resolution despite party lines months ago.
Yeah.
Months ago. I'm not saying you need to hand out billions of dollars to every single individual, but there needs to be something set in place, and there should have been something set in place. And it came down to a couple $100 a person, you know what I mean? Where instead of like 200 or 600, they compromise. And then instead of that, let's just take a vacation. This is we're going to take our recess. Seriously, no, you get the job done for your citizens, because these are the people that are going to vote you out.
I know.
On both sides.
It's really disgusting.
We've been failed.
Yeah, we really have.
And I want to blame one party more than the other, but I really can't when it comes to that. Like, there's stubbornness on both sides. Now, the presidential race, that's something different. You know,
fingers crossed.
It's okay. This is like the last thing, and then we got to start wrapping it up. But do you think it's going to get crazier at the end of the year? Because 2020 is far from being over, and there's been a crazier year. And with mail-in ballots, like, I don't trust them, and I'll tell you why I didn't trust them. It has nothing to do with me saying that this candidate's going to steal these votes or this other candidate's going to do this. I'm going to talk about my experience in Jersey City.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They lost so many of our letters and packages, and that was on non-election years with no problems. And it was the worst postal service in Jersey City, New Jersey. I will say that they lost about 6 of our packages and certified letters. And those are supposed to be held with, you know, a little bit more care than regular mail. I had to get some checks, you know, from my manager resent, and they had to cancel them out because they lost money. So if they're that careless on non-election years, I don't even want to know what's happening on an election year.
I'm going to just go drop mine off at the ballot box, I think.
If people are voting, go straight to the ballot box.
Yeah.
You cannot trust post.
Just go. You can boop and boop. You don't have to I think going and doing it and
and I say this, it's Jersey City, from my experience, I would wait to send something. I would hold it and go into New York and go to the post office in the Greenwich Village.
Oh, would you really?
Yes. That one on Hudson.
I know.
Whatever. Yeah. I would go there and drop off packages there because I knew they would care, and then get to where I needed to get to.
Right.
Oh man, Jersey City was awful. But I think we're headed into some crazy times in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. It's going to continue getting crazier. I think the election, post-election is going to be nuts because I hope that Biden wins in a landslide, because if it isn't a landslide, it's going to become
a contested thing, and it's going to take months. And I don't think we're going to find out for a week or two.
Yeah.
just because everyone's voting. A
Yeah.
lot of people can only vote from home. So it's gonna, you know, you're in New
It's
York,
real scary.
right?
Yeah.
Good luck
Yeah.
over there. I'm in an area where it doesn't matter as much. You know, like we're not gonna get that crazy over here, but your city tends to get a little crazier. With
This is what I will say in this anarchist jurisdiction that I'm in.
Oh, I know you bad boys.
I know we're terrible. Not really. I am very grateful to be here. Actually, lockdown was really hard. It was scary being here. I live in Astoria, Queens, one neighborhood over from Elmhurst that was hit the hardest, where that hospital is. I heard sirens all day long, every day. It was I've been working through this whole thing. I nanny to supplement the creative work, and my regular gig fell through on lockdown, but my best friend is a doctor with 2 small children. And so I've been working with my best friend, which has been a godsend. I haven't been as isolated. But it was really, the spring and summer in this city were real hard. It was really weird to see the streets empty. It was it's still like living here. This is my home and I love it. It's strange to live in the city where, it's supposed to be the city that never sleeps, and there are all these events that you can go do, and that's the pull of living here, and now we can't do any of that shit. But we are on the other side of that first big wave, and God, I am 100% a homosexual. I don't agree with everything that the man does. He made big cuts to Medicaid in the middle of all this, which is fucked up, but his briefings every day were what got me through. He did a great job.
That was one thing that I can't say that I'm a homosexual, but I can say I agree with you. He did maybe not do everything perfectly, but who did?
Yeah.
Who did? The one thing he did do is that he was present.
And he was a voice of reason.
Exactly. He was there to offer aid or comfort or just be present. That's all you needed. Like with all the drastic stuff that happened with the riots, with the killings, with even just all the deaths, our president just would brag.
Golfed.
Golf, or just when he come on, he'd talk about, well, our numbers are this, or our numbers are, we're better than this. It's like, just show up and not brag. Don't make it about yourself. That's the one thing that if you could do one thing, all you had to do is just say, hey, I'm here. These are my thoughts. But no. And we didn't get that. And I think that made matters worse.
100%.
It totally made
it's a disgrace. He's a disgrace to this country. He's I can go on and on, but I just Cuomo, those PowerPoint presentations that he would give, today is Saturday, reminding us the day of the week. Just having that calming, like somebody's in charge, somebody's working on this shit, we're going to get through it. It was really helpful. And I do feel like there are social programs in place here that aren't in the rest of the country that I feel, I feel protected living in New York, to be honest.
I also feel New Yorkers in general are more equipped to deal with bouncing back. It's kind of like in football terms, they always say you got to keep your feet pumping. You make that first initial contact, and you got to keep going, pushing until the whistle blows. Here in the Midwest, in Texas, in the South, or whatever, it's kind of, you're from Florida, you're from Jacksonville. I lived in Jacksonville too for a little bit, and I'm in South Texas. We have a great way of life. It's very simple. There's not much that disrupts us. The worst it gets is like, oh, it rains a little bit and there's a little puddle over here. There might be a little accident over here. In New York, someone jumped in front of the train. So now you got to figure out, or this train isn't running and you got to figure out how to get to work, and this other train is not running, or there was a bomb threat, or someone blew themselves up, at Times Square, or the car's running. Like, there's always something going on. In New York has been equipped to move forward, and They're just, it's, better.
And you got to be tough to live
Yeah,
here.
you do.
You do. You have
Yeah.
to be tough to live here. The city will knock you down if you let it.
Exactly.
And so anyway, yeah, I'm very, very grateful to live here, in the middle of all of this.
Yeah, well, I hope that there isn't a huge second wave. A second wave is probably inevitable, but I hope it's not as bad. Yeah. And I think the first wave might have been a good lesson to learn from, that a lot of people learn from. I hope you stay safe, and I hope you write something magical in the next year.
Thank you.
And you continue doing your work. I'm very proud of you, and I'm very proud to see the work that you're doing. And the next time you're on here, you're probably going to remind Sharon Horgan who I am. Okay? I guarantee you she forgot who I was.
Nobody could. Listen, Jorge, I'm so proud of you too. I've really looked up to you. It's amazing what you were able to accomplish right out of a fucking acting program with what we went through. Yeah. And the work that you've done. Everybody is proud of you. I particularly have been really proud to see what you've been able to do. So
I appreciate that.
To you. Yeah. Yeah. And everybody can follow Big Girl Show on socials at Big Girl Show.
At Big Girl Show, please.
All one word, lowercase.
Go follow.
As soon as we drop wherever it can be streamed, we'll make that announcement. We have more festivals coming up and all of that stuff. But yeah, please,
at Big Girl Show. I'm gonna link at Big Girl Show. That's on Instagram, right?
Insta, Facebook, and Twitter. Yeah.
And Twitter. Okay, I'm gonna link that down below in the show notes. Please go and follow. This is a project. This is one other person that is doing what I say is going to be the future of this industry. So please go follow. Thank you for watching and listening. I am Jorge Chapa. Follow me on Instagram at Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Let's get another 10 subscribers or followers to the 5 that are already listening. And let's make it a good, clean 15. And Katherine, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
It's been
I've missed you.
Amazing. I miss you too. It's going to be a good year. I mean, 2020 has been weird, but it's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to come out of this better, man.
I believe it. Yeah. All right. Well, you have a good one. You could stay on for just a second while I stop recording, but the rest of y'all, bye.